You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast. www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
Democrats have a new slogan. Not a lot of new faces, no branches of our federal government, and no hope of a liberal majority on the Supreme Court anytime soon, but we got a new slogan. It goes like this: a better deal, better jobs, better wages, better future. All right, a three-word slogan with better being one of those three words. I can get behind that. And it's a little history-ish and a little dick-ish, which are two good things to be-ish. A better deal invokes FDR and pokes Donald Trump. The New Deal was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's response to the Great Depression. Quote, a series of federal programs, public works projects, and financial reforms and regulations, says Wikipedia, for those of you who don't know nothing about history. And The Art of the Deal, of course, is a book second only to the Bible in its impact on and importance to the ongoing human project, according to a person who had nothing to do with writing that book. That person would be Donald Trump, of course. Because according to Tony Schwartz, the book's actual author, aka the book's ghostwriter, not only didn't Trump write Art of the Deal, Trump never even read Art of the Deal. But I don't want to relitigate Art of the Deal. That's old news. Not big, just old. I want to discuss the Democrats' new slogan and their new promises to the American people, which Senator Chuck Schumer listed in an op-ed in yesterday's New York Times. Americans are clamoring for bold changes to our politics and our economy, Schumer wrote, pointing to the results of last November's election as proof. He goes on to point out that Democrats really have always been the party of working people, but working people these days don't know it because Dems, like ours, are in the thrall of big money and big donors, which has skewed the policies and programs of both policies, particularly those proposed by Democrats, and that has skewed perceptions, particularly those of the working class, which is not to be confused with the white working class voters, a group we've heard a lot about and a lot from since the election. Anyway, the policies that Schumer rolls out in his op-ed yesterday, they seem pretty decent. Raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour nationally, a $1 trillion infrastructure plan that is actually an infrastructure plan, not a massive tax cut for the wealthy that identifies itself as an infrastructure plan, paid family leave and sick leave, which will be great as long as you aren't one of those Americans who are already entitled to paid vacation days that you don't ever take for fear that your employer will find some other reason to fire your ass if you actually have the nerve to ask for the time off that you've got coming. Dems are also going to go after drug companies and prevent mergers that result in higher costs for consumers. Oh, and tax breaks, because there's always got to be tax breaks in there somewhere for businesses that invest in retraining workers. All right, there are two items that to me seem conspicuous by their absence from this list. The first and most obvious, universal health care. A majority of Americans now support the idea that the government should provide health care for all, which perversely we may have Donald Trump to thank for, in large part because he spent most of the campaign running around the country promising his supporters that he would provide them with cheaper insurance with lower deductibles and that the government would do that for them. He's not doing that now, of course. He's backed Trump Care, which would take insurance away from millions and jack up deductibles on the few lucky enough to still have insurance after the Republicans burn it all down. And it's a problem that universal health care isn't in there. And it's a problem that drug costs are in there in the way that they are in there, because drug costs are just a piece of the healthcare crisis. They're not the whole fucking enchilada. And if this is being bold, if this is the time, as Schumer says, to be bold, why aren't we taking on the whole thing? Drug costs are a problem, but they're a marginal one. Healthcare, that's the issue of which drug costs are a part. Go at healthcare, universal healthcare. And a quick aside to Democrats who always have trouble with messaging, please don't call it single payer, because the Republicans will demagogue single payer. They will say to their voters, you know who that single payer the Democrats are talking about are? It's you. You will be paying all by yourself for the health care of everybody else. You are the single payer that they're talking about. Don't call it single payer. Always universal health care. The other item, conspicuous by its absence, making it easier for people to unionize their workplaces, also known as card check, a way of unionizing that allows workers to organize by getting a majority of their fellow employees to sign authorization forms, which they don't have to do in front of their employers. They don't have to have a vote. Obama supported card check when he was a senator, and he supported it when he ran for president, but he and congressional Dems didn't do anything about it when they had control of the House, Senate, and White House at the beginning of Obama's term. It was a betrayal of the union movement by Dems. Sick leave, family leave, like paid vacations, are a nice idea. But you're going to need unions to make sure workers can actually have those benefits, access those benefits without being retaliated against. The days that so many Trump supporters pine for, the days of rising middle-class incomes, the days when you could get a job right out of high school and make enough money to buy a house and own a car, that was back when unions were strong. Better deal, better jobs, better wages, better future. That's a good start, a lot less squishy than better together. But the list on the agenda that came after that slogan, better deal, better jobs, better wages, better future, missing two important things: universal health care, strong unions. All right, coming up on today's show, on the micro-free edition of the Savage Lovecast, tons of your questions, lots of my answers. And on the Magnum edition of the Savage Lovecast, which you can subscribe to at www.savagelovecast.com, author Jon Ronson is here to discuss his new audio project and bespoke pornography and how it's impacted at least one very valuable stamp collection. That's coming up on the Magnum. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Boll & Branch, luxury, affordable, fair trade certified sheets. Get $50 off a set of sheets plus free shipping by going to bollandbranch.com and entering SAVAGE. Today's Savage Lovecast is brought to you by MeUndies, high quality, super comfortable, good looking undies. Get 20% off your first order when you go to meundies.com/savage. Today's episode of the Lovecast is brought to you by 5-4 Club, fashionable men's clothing curated and sent right to your door. Get 50% off your first package at 5-4 Club when you use the offer code SAVAGE. Just go to 5-4 Club, spell it out, FIVEFOURCLUB.com, and use the offer code SAVAGE.
Hey, Dan Savage. I'm a 50-ish-year-old married man in my on the East Coast, and about 24 hours ago, my 10-year-old oldest told us he was gay, and we're still trying to process it, trying to figure out what this means for us, for him, more importantly, see how he can live a happy and fulfilled and successful life in a world where it's still difficult to do that at the margins of society. I don't know if you can walk me through this initial shock to our system and tell me how to be a good father to him. I'd appreciate it.
At the margins of society, the tragic twilight world of the homosexual. Are you calling me from the 1950s, or are you calling me from St. Petersburg? Are you calling me from Nigeria? Are you calling me from somewhere that really someone who is openly gay is going to be marginalized or brutalized or Chechnya executed for being gay? No, it sounds like you're calling me from North America somewhere. And right now, you're not in a time machine telephone booth calling me from 1962 or 1952 or 1942. Your son, if he is gay, isn't facing a life of marginalization, isn't going to have a twilight existence right now in our culture where we stand. There's been a lot of progress. You might want to, I don't know, pull back the curtains, open the window, and take a look outside, or turn on the TV and acquaint yourself with, I don't know, Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper, or bop over to C-SPAN and check out a Tammy Baldwin speech. She's a senator, lesbian senator from the state of Wisconsin. It isn't 1955 anymore. Your son, if he is gay, can have a wonderful life with success, a career, a partner, kids, whatever he wants. And he's likelier to have that kind of life as a gay person, if he is a gay person, with your support. And your support is going to be more valuable to him if you don't react to him being gay like it's a fucking never-ending tragedy and he's going to be miserable for the rest of his life, because he's going to pick up on that, and it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It could become what he thinks is expected of him by you. And he may perform misery because you've telegraphed that to him. You've told him, oh, you're gay, you're going to be miserable. And then he's like, all right, I'm gay, I'm miserable. Don't do that. And if you don't know any gay people, now might be the time to meet a few. And there are plenty of gay people out there where if a parent came to them and said, look, I don't have any gay friends. My son just came out to me as gay. Could you help us out? If you have a gay distant relative, if you have a gay colleague, coworker, neighbor, just go to that person and say, we're a little at sea here, and any advice, or even just come over for dinner so that our gay son can see gay people who exist in our community and are valued. And, we're really sorry that we haven't had a gay friend until now, and we hate to objectify you in this way, but like there's a 10-year-old kid and a future at stake. Can you help us out? Most gay people, myself included, would be like, what would you like me to bring? Can I bring dessert? Can I bring a salad? What do you want, Dad? Now, backing up, you may have noticed I kept saying, if your son is gay. My son came out to me when he was about 10 years old. And I don't say this so that you can live in hope that your son ain't gay, but my son came out to me when he was 10 years old because he didn't like girls. And he thought that that meant that he would be gay when he grew up, like his dad's. And we had to sit down with him and very patiently explain that it's normal for boys to not like girls. And typically, boys who don't like girls when they're 10 begin to like girls very much at 13 or 14. And we pulled out a photo album and showed him Terry's 11th birthday party or 10th birthday party. I don't remember which. And he is the only boy at this big table full of girls. His 11th birthday party. He loved girls when he was 10 or 11 years old. And my son today, my son is really fucking straight. Super duper straight. So your son may or may not be gay. You need to tell him that gay or not, whoever he is, you will love him and you will support him. And you need to respect what he's told you. He may very well know for a fact that he is gay. He may not be mistaken. So this is the beginning of the conversation that you're going to have with your son. Don't go in there and root for straight. Don't go in there and tell him that it'll be easier for him if he's straight. A lot of queer people, lesbian, gay, bi, and trans, have worked very hard to create a world where more is possible for your son as an openly gay person in our culture and our society. Also, if your son is gay and he wants to be out, you're going to need to make some proactive moves to protect him. When your kid comes out as queer, even if you think your kid might be queer, you need to look around. You need to look at where you live. You need to look at the church, if you go to a church that you go to. You need to look at the schools that you're sending your kid to. And if, when you look around, you realize that you live in a place where people are awful to queer people, and if you're taking your kid to a church where he's being lied to about queer people, being told that God hates fags, sometimes in a nicer way, but that's the takeaway. Or if you're sending your kid to a school that doesn't have gay-straight alliances, or in a school district that doesn't allow for them, or you're sending your kid to religious schools where they get more of that God hates fags shit, you might want to move to a better place. You might want to go to a less hateful church. You might want to take proactive steps before your kid is bullied and miserable to prevent your kid from becoming bullied and becoming miserable. There are a lot of parents out there who've had to bury their gay sons because their gay sons were driven to suicide by shitty people in shitty communities and shitty churches and shitty schools who tormented them. You can't make the decision to go to a better church, get your kid into a better school, or move to save your kid's life after your kid is dead. If you think your kid might be gay or lesbian or bi or trans, and you know what? Everybody's kid might be gay or lesbian or bi or trans. You can't always tell. Take proactive steps to make sure your kid is in a place where gay, lesbian, bi, trans people are valued and respected, and queer kids are not brutalized physically, spiritually, emotionally. All parents should err on the side of that because you never know whether your kid is queer or not. There are the kids who are obviously queer. I think those parents have a special obligation to bust a fucking move and make sure their kid is safe. And again, it's not always the kids that you can tell who are queer. So if you have a gender normative, sort of straightish, straight boy kind of kid, and you feel like you can keep sending him to this shitty church where they're getting the God hates fags line, and some shitty school where they're getting the God hates fags line, and continue to live in a community where queer people are brutalized or attacked, you may be risking that kid's life too, because that kid could be queer. We shouldn't tolerate anti-LGBT bias or bigotry anywhere to protect our kids, all of them. And there's a whole body of research that shows when LGBT kids are safe, straight kids are safer too. Anyway, Dad, I'm far from your question. It's not a tragedy to have a queer kid. Don't treat him like he's got leukemia, and love him, whoever he is, gay or straight. Take a look around. And if there are changes you need to make to protect your queer kid, your gay son, make them.
Hi, Dan. I am a 30-year-old woman in upstate New York, and I am happily engaged to a really great man who is loving and one of the most selfless people I know. We're actually in an open relationship, many thanks to you and the evolution of listening to you. That's all going well, and my question is actually not about him or that specifically, but about a guy that I had been chatting with over the past several days. I met through a dating app. Everything was fine, no red flags, until today when he sent me a picture and I Googled the logo that was on his shirt, as one would, and quickly linked from his current job to a video and several news stories that related to him as a former law enforcement officer being charged with 2 misdemeanors and resulting probation from punching and kicking an African-American man who was handcuffed already and on the sidewalk. This was obviously a surprise, and sadly, even to be able to qualify this was not the worst videos of such a situation that I've ever seen. However, obviously something that would result in me potentially not feeling safe around him, and more importantly, just not wanting to lend him my vagina or anything else. So my question is, should I just ghost him, which I normally would not do, or should I say anything about this? I know he travels a lot and meets people that way, so he's not local to where I am, but I don't know if there's any good to come out of saying what I found and giving the reason to not speak with him anymore. He doesn't know enough information about me to be a threat in that way, but I'm not sure if what his reaction would be. Probably not positive. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, and if this is something that you think has any merit to bring up to him or not.
So your question is, will any good come of telling him why you're not interested in lending him your vagina? And I think there is some good that potentially will come of that. The guy lost his job over this, assaulting that handcuffed, helpless black dude, beating and punching and kicking him, and should have lost his job. And bad cops and police brutality and all we've seen, Philando Castile. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Philando Castile. The execution of unarmed black men by white cops who then walk away scot-free, or walk away with $50,000 roughly, which is what the cop who shot Philando Castile was just paid to leave the department, which I predicted here on the podcast a couple of weeks ago would happen. It is appalling. And there needs to be social consequences for dudes who engage in this kind of behavior, for the Zimmermans of the world who get away with this crap. So I think you should tell him. You should tell him you Googled him. Like any smart, sensible woman, you vet the guys you think you might want to meet up or play with for your own safety, and you learn this thing about him that makes you feel uncomfortable being intimate with him. Unsafe yourself, but also you don't think he's worthy of your vagina. You don't want to sleep with racist white men who brutalize or assault people of color, and then cut off communication with him if you're not interested in hearing his sob story or his side of the story, and I'm sure he's got his side of the story, or even his redemption narrative if he's constructed one, whether it's bullshit or actual, about how he lost it, and he's gone to anger management, and he's trying to root out his racist attitudes, and when he thinks about that day or that video or other acts he engaged in, he's racked with shame. He may come back with that. But he has to pay a price. He's paid a price when losing his job, should have gone to jail. But I think it's important that we err on the side of sending a very clear cultural message, and there being social accountability too around this kind of racist violence, particularly when someone is wearing a badge. Yeah, so don't lend him your vagina and tell him why he's not getting that spectacular loaner. People ask me all the time how to spice up their sex lives, and often I tell people to get out of their beds and get out of their bedrooms. But eventually we all return to our beds and we all return to our bedrooms. And if you want to keep it hot and keep it sexy and keep it sensuous in the bedroom, you're going to want to have some kick-ass, gorgeous, comfortable sheets on your bed. And you can get great sheets at bollandbranch.com. What makes Boll & Branch sheets unique is that each is crafted from 100% organic cotton. That means Boll & Branch sheets not only feel incredible, they look amazing. And since Boll & Branch sells exclusively online, you don't pay that expensive retail markup. That's half the price for twice the quality. And you will, I guarantee it, I promise you, you will love these sheets. Try them for 30 nights and see for yourself. If you are not impressed, you can return them for a full refund. Anyone who sleeps on Boll & Branch sheets loves them. That's why they have thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews online. Go check it out. Boll & Branch sheets also make a great gift. They come in a beautiful signature box. Terry and I are going to a couple of gay weddings this summer, and we are gifting Boll & Branch sheets to the lucky couples. Go to bollandbranch.com today, and you'll get $50 off your first set of sheets plus free shipping when you use the promo code SAVAGE. That's $50 off plus free shipping right now at bollandbranch.com. Spelled BOLL and branch.com, promo code SAVAGE.
Hello, Dan and the Tech Savvy at-risk youth. I am a long-time listener, first-time caller, and I pretty desperately need your advice. I'm a mid-20s straight lady in a monogamous relationship with a guy going on 3 years, and frankly, it hasn't been great for the past 10 months or so. We had already been out of the honeymoon stage, but we were still doing fine around that time. Around September 2016, there was some trigger that suddenly made everything go terribly. More fights, only vanilla sex and less of it, fewer things in common, all that stuff. I'm still not entirely sure what the trigger was, but I have a few ideas. Regardless of why or exactly when, basically ever since then, our relationship has been in a limbo, and it all seems to be on my shoulders. Both of us have been trying to make it work, but I'm almost certainly most of the problem. I seem to have no romantic or sexual interest at all with anyone anymore. Through 2017 so far, we've been having steadily less sex until now when it's been about 5 weeks. He still has desire, and he expresses it, but I just feel nothing. I tried fake it till you make it for a while, but I think that just made it worse since every time I would just end up feeling used and dirty. I'm well aware that I probably have some form of depression and likely always have, and I'm starting therapy next week. Here's my conundrum. I'm seeking help to try to make myself better, but all I really feel for my partner is guilt. I want to love him, but I feel like I'm physically incapable of fulfilling his needs. And I'm afraid that once I start getting better, our huge differences in personality will still be relationship extinction level, and I'll just have wasted more of his time. I'm not too concerned about myself, but even though I don't feel affection like I should, the mental image of him leaving still hurts so badly. Should I let him and this relationship go and give up on the life we've been working on?
So you're just seeking treatment for what you suspect may be depression. Is that right?
Yes.
It doesn't seem to me like you need to make any moves right now. Why don't you get your ass into therapy, see what your therapist has to say, see what improvements you may make over time. And this guilt you feel about wasting your boyfriend's time, you know, he's an autonomous individual. He's an adult. He gets to make his own choices. And if he chooses to stick with you during this period without any assurance that you guys are going to be together forever, you have to let him make that choice. And you can let him make that choice. You don't have to preemptively dump him before you're ready to dump him because you feel like you ought to dump him or you owe him a dumping because you don't know if it's going to get better.
Yeah, and that's actually, I had my first therapy session just a couple of days ago, and that was one of the things that she could immediately pick out about me was that I care too much. I'm always trying to basically take care of everybody around me, and, you know, put them first, which normally I would think would be a good thing, but doesn't seem to really be working out for me.
Yeah, you got to be a little selfish sometimes. And that applies to sex as well. You got to be a little selfish about what it is you want to do and who you want to do it with and what turns you on. And but I think that's separate. I don't think you're doing sex wrong, which is why your libido has cratered. I think that if you've been diagnosed with depression, or if your therapist or counselor thinks depression may be the issue, that can crater someone's libido really effectively. So I'm not saying that, that point I just made about selfishness and sex is kind of a tangent. What you have to get to the bottom of first with your therapist is the depression issue, and unpack that and unlock that and see if you need to be on meds or something else that may help you live with depression and control it rather than having it control you. But what you called me about, and what you seemed most upset about, was, and you sounded like you began to cry contemplating, was being alone or being without your boyfriend, but feeling like to take care of him, like your therapist said, to take care of him, you have to dump him because what is it you think that he needs right now that he's not getting from you? Sex?
Primarily, really just all kinds of intimacy. Like it would be an understatement to say that we're not as close as we used to be. And I know that happens in LTRs, but I don't know. He seemed so unhappy. And when we met, he was always the kind of upbeat guy that anybody could reach out to, like if they were ever feeling down. And he's still that person for other people. It just doesn't seem to work for me.
He isn't that person for you, or you can't ask him for things? You don't feel like you deserve the same from him that you see him give to others?
A little of both. I think with me, because of all the frustrations that he has with the relationship, he has trouble being that person. Like he definitely tries, and sometimes he is. And of course we have good days. It's not all bad, but I mean, not only is it not how it was at first, but I see how much he's changed and how frustrated he is, and that's what really brings that guilt.
And is part of what's fueling that guilt is so long as he's with you, he has to live with that frustration?
Yes.
And your fear of being without him, how upset you got when you talked about ending things, is that a fear of not having him in your life and not having this relationship, or being alone?
I think it's more the former. I mean, I've been on my own before, and I don't feel like even if I was alone right now that I would do poorly. Like, I think more than anything I would be a little bored, but I'm already doing what I can to reach out to other people and always keep myself busy. Like pretty much every day that I don't work, I'm like either out with friends or at least talking to people. So I'm not by myself. So I've pretty much got that down. It's just, I don't know, when I picture him leaving, it just makes me really sad. And I think it's because I want to care and I do care, but I don't, like, I'm not all there yet. And it sucks that I've lost that part of me, and that's what hurts.
How long is he willing to wait? Have you talked to him about that?
Not exactly in those terms. Like, we've definitely had talks about how long we've been together and what would happen if we split up. But
because mid-20s, I got to break in, mid-20s and together 3 years, and it's been not great for the last 10 months, almost a third of the time you've been together. That in your mid-20s, a 3-year-long relationship seems like a really long-term relationship. I'm here from the future to tell you that it ain't.
I know. And I've had that in my mind too. And that's part of the reason that I asked the question that I did is, well, I'm in my mid-20s and as mid-30s, early mid-30s. But still, like, that is a long time to just putting up with somebody, even somebody that you care about, if you're not happy.
Right. It's a big investment. You've made a big investment, emotional investment, chronological investment, I guess, in this relationship. But if it's not making you happy, or it's not making him happy and his unhappiness is making you miserable, sometimes people have a hard time letting go of a 2 or 3 year relationship because they feel like, that was all a waste. They don't want to feel like they failed or the relationship failed. But maybe now is not the right time for you two to be together.
That's kind of where my head is. It's just like, if I'm the cause of most of his frustration, which I know that I am, and I mean, it's not all me. There are things about him that I don't like also, but I mean, it's primarily what's going on in my own head and my own life that's causing him so much grief. I don't want to prolong that just on the off chance that everything will be okay soon.
Okay. But you can't prolong it unilaterally.
Okay. Right.
You can't prolong it without his consent. And
Yeah.
I think that's the conversation. This would be my advice, like bottom line. That's a conversation you need to have with him. I clearly have a problem with depression. Me shutting down sexually, which is most likely linked to the depression, has made you really upset and frustrated. I'm in therapy now. I'm working on it. Let's give it 3 months. Let's give it 6 months. Or how long are you willing to give it? 3 months, 6 months before there's any improvement? If there's no improvement after that amount of time, then perhaps we should part. And then let him make that choice.
Okay.
Because right now, staying with you indefinitely without any sign of improvement over the last 10 months means he's looking at you and thinking this may go on forever. I may be trapped in this relationship without any change for the better forever. But if you guys get to a place where it's like, you know what? Neither of us is trapped. We are both free to go. There are things we love about each other. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been together this long. We're going to give it X more amount time. And if in that amount of time there's no improvement, we are going to have another conversation and we are going to free each other or free ourselves then. And he can go on and have a new relationship or not, or have a series of new relationships. You can work on your depression issues without feeling pressured to rush through that work to hold on to your boyfriend.
Mm.
And then if you're both still single in a couple of years' time, there's nothing in any rule book that says you can't circle back, reconnect, pick up where you left off, start dating again.
Yeah. Once I'm in a better place, and then we can kind of see
And
how that is.
my hunch is you might have better results in counseling and therapy working on this issue if you were single. If it wasn't in the back of your head that I'm working on this, desperately trying to solve this problem to hold on to him. Because on some level, while you do this kind of work, when in therapy and counseling, trying to get on top of your depression, if it's in the back of your head that you're not really doing that for yourself, but you're doing it for someone else,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be as effective.
Yeah, and that definitely was a little bit of what sparked it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that this has always been an issue for me, so I'm glad that I finally started. But certainly seeing what it's done to him and done to my relationship it was a catalyst that really got me to go.
Well, I'm glad you're seeking the help that you've needed for, sounds like, a while.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel guilty. Give him the choice to stay or go. If he chooses to stay, respect the choice that he's made. But set a time limit.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Terry, my husband, he is the clothes horse in our family. And I don't like to go shopping for clothes, and I am not good at choosing clothes that look good on me. That's what Terry is for. Terry does that, amongst other things. So you can imagine my delight and his when we heard about 5-4 Club. Each month, they send you a curated box of 2 to 3 items, handpicked to match the current season and your style. They've been helping men with fashion for over 15 years and shipped to over 100,000 men every month. So if you are like me, fashion challenged, and you do not have a Terry in your life, 5-4 Club is for you. They know what they're doing. So if you don't, like me, I don't, that's okay. 5-4 Club will help you build your wardrobe 1 month at a time. And having nice looking clothes helps you feel confident. And feeling confident in your pants is going to help you get into other people's pants. When you use 5-4 Club, you get $120 worth of clothes for just $60 a month. And you can pause or cancel at any time. No commitments. And as a 5-4 Club member, you'll also receive up to 50% off items in their online shop and access to exclusive members-only items, free shipping, and size exchanges. Go to 54club.com right now and enter promo code SAVAGE, and they'll give you 50% off your first month's package plus a free pair of sunglasses. That's 50% off your first package at 54club, spelled FIVEFOURCLUB.com, promo code SAVAGE. 54club.com. Promo code SAVAGE.
Hi, Dan and the at-risk youth. I am a 35-year-old cisgendered married male. I have had some problems that have been ongoing for like the last 6 years or so that are just ongoing between my wife and my little sister. My little sister has borderline personality disorder, and my wife has her own issues that are probably undiagnosed, some things from her anxieties and traumas from growing up and that sort of thing. And while I seem to be completely capable to a certain extent with dealing with my little sister's toxic nonsense, my wife is completely 100% susceptible to it, to the point where it puts her into hysterics. Like, my little sister will attack me like through text or something like that, and I won't respond to it, and she'll realize that it's not working, and so she'll say something maybe about my wife on social media in a roundabout way, like just enough so that she can deny it, and then my wife reads it, and I tell her not to read the social media, and she reads it anyway, and then it drives her up the wall and insane, and then when I confront my sister about it, she just denies it, and she turns it around on me and blames me, and then I'm accused then by my wife of not doing anything to change the situation or fixing my sister or not getting out my parents enough for going after my 30-year-old sister. And I'm pushed into this awkward situation where it feels like a lot of my time is spent with my family, arguing with them to do something about somebody that is potentially like incurable. Like, it's been 17 years with my little sister with this thing going on, and I don't have a place to, like, I don't know if she'll ever get fixed. So I've learned to tolerate it, but she can't. Like, my wife just spirals out of control and fixates it on it so much, and I don't know what to do about it. Is it wrong for me to think that she should keep her distance and not get involved with these things? I don't know.
Your sister, your 30-year-old sister, is an adult with access to the internet and access to social media and a mental illness. I don't know what your wife expects you to do in this circumstance to prevent your sister from baiting your wife on social media or elsewhere, but there's really not much you can do to stop your sister from having a mental illness or being an asshole on the internet. It's really on you and your wife to block your sister, to not follow her, to not read her tweets, to not be friends with her on Facebook, to block her number so she cannot text you, cannot text your wife. You guys have to build a firewall around yourselves, around your marriage, to protect it and each other from the assaults coming your way from your mentally ill sister. I presume that you've said all this to your wife. I think she needs to hear it from a third party. There's really nothing that you can do here to stop your sister from getting on social media and being a dick. You've said that to her. It sounds like you've said that to her many, many, many times, and it hasn't taken. Maybe it'll take. Maybe your wife will understand it if she hears it from someone else. Get into therapy. Go see a couples counselor for a few sessions to discuss this particular issue. Don't go into couples counseling for the rest of your lives. Just a few sessions to talk about this, because there's really nothing that you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to stop your sister from being a dick on the internet. And your wife can't continue to blame you for not doing anything about something that you can't do anything about. Yelling at your parents isn't going to change anything. Yelling at your sister isn't going to change anything. Blocking your sister on social media. And your wife's going to have to find the discipline or self-control not to dive into your sister's Facebook page or tweets or Instagram account or wherever else she's seeing these baiting posts. That's really on her. So I don't think you're in the wrong here. And I'm sorry you're in this tough position. I'm sorry you're trapped between your sister and her mental illness and your wife and her irrational expectations around what you can and can't do and what you could or couldn't make happen, what you can stop and can't stop. So couples counselor time. Make a few appointments. MeUndies are the softest, most comfortable underwear you will ever wear, and summer is the perfect time to upgrade your underwear drawer because everyone is thinking about looking good and feeling good and getting undressed in front of new people. And MeUndies are the ultimate feel good about getting undressed in front of new people undies. Nancy has tossed all of her old underpants out and now has a monogamous commitment to MeUndies for real, total truth. Every pair of MeUndies is sustainably sourced and made from micro-modal, a fabric that's 3 times softer than cotton. If you're used to buying boring underwear, MeUndies will change your life because MeUndies come in all kinds of colors and patterns, and they release new limited edition patterns each month that always sell out. This month's patterns were designed by the legendary 80s clothing brand Cross Colors, with names that live up to their bold design and bright colors. Increase de Peace, Ya Dig, and the OG. You've got to see them for yourself, and right now you will save 20% off your first pair and receive free shipping only at meundies.com/savage. There's a reason MeUndies has sold over 5 million pairs to date, 1 million pairs to Nancy alone, and you will feel it when you put them on. And if you don't love your first pair of MeUndies, they are free. So get 20% off your first pair plus free shipping at meundies.com/savage. That's meundies.com/savage. meundies.com/savage.
Hello, Dan. I am a 16-year-old male, and I never thought I'd be on the asking end of any of these questions on your podcast, but here we go. I dated a girl months back. It was fine. I wasn't that into it. I'm not really into dating. So as I found out I wasn't really into dating, I ended it promptly. I did it in a semi-nice way. I was trying to be cordial about it. She said that was fine. We remained best friends. 2 months later, she wanted to add sex back into it, and I told her I will be having sex with other people as well. This isn't an exclusive thing. I can't date. She said that was fine. So later she accuses me of fucking her friends behind her back. I wasn't doing that, whatever high school accusation drama shit. But then I applied for a job at the Tulsa Zoo, and she thought I did that to fuck her 24-year-old ex-boss, and that was a bit much. So I decided we should pull the sex out of the relationship, see if we can save the friendship, because she's obviously too jealous to handle it, and she threatened to kill herself. Now, she is a suicidal person, so I didn't want to pull the sex out at that point. I didn't want to risk it. Just the other day, same kind of thing happened again. She accused me of something and didn't even talk to me about it first, and it was just too much for me to handle. So I was like, that's the last straw. No more sex. And, same thing happened again. I'm going to kill myself. You make me feel bad. I'm going to kill myself. I know this sounds a lot like the call from 550 of the high school drama, but I just don't want to lose my best friend. Help.
You're right when you say this is teen drama. This is absolutely teen drama. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't take the threats she's making seriously. You should take them seriously, and you should call in the cavalry in the form of parents, counselors at your school. If you're in school together, you need to let a few other people, trusted adults, as they often say to teenagers, know that this girl that you like and you're concerned about is threatening to kill herself. Suicidal ideation. And she could be suicidal, or she could be manipulating you with threats of suicide, which is something that people do and should not do. Or it could be both. She could be straight up legit suicidal and attempting to manipulate you with these threats. So you got to take it seriously, but you can't handle this on your own. And you can't stay in this relationship as a hostage because this person is threatening to kill themselves. It's basically somebody pointing a gun at themselves and saying, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm going to pull the trigger. And that's not a relationship, not even a friendship. That is a hostage situation, and you need to get yourself the fuck out of it. And how you get yourself out of it is by calling in the cavalry, is by shifting responsibility for this situation to the responsible parties, to the adults in the room, as they say, but the adults in this young woman's life, her parents, her family. If her parents are useless, maybe she has aunts or uncles that you can get in contact with. If they're useless, people at the school, counselors, teachers, an intervention may need to be staged that you are not qualified to stage or in any position to, because you have no authority over her. She's not your daughter, not your child. So call in the cavalry, and however much you like this person, whatever good qualities she has, I think you need to end this relationship. And that may result in threats escalating, because up to now, when you've attempted to disengage or she's done something shitty that might have prompted you to disengage, she has threatened suicide. Once she sees that you're actually headed for the door, that you're ending this relationship, she may respond to that with a barrage of threats, because in the past, the threats have worked. She's threatened suicide, and it has resulted in her being able to successfully control you to a certain extent. So if you tell her that you've called in the parents, you've called in the counselors, you've called in the cavalry, and you can't see her and she needs to get help, and the threats get worse, report that to the cavalry, let the parents know, but don't cave. Don't give in to that kind of emotional blackmail. She's going to keep issuing these threats so long as they work. And up to now, they've worked. And you need to resolve that they are no longer going to work. You're no longer going to be manipulated like this. You're not going to be held hostage anymore.
Hey, Dan. My name is Matt. I'm in Ohio. So this is kind of a weird question, but last night I had a one-night stand with a guy, very hot, hairy chest, all that. I think he had a micro dick. It's very, very small and kind of hidden by kind of a fatty pad, I suppose. But in retrospect, it might have been, it might have been a clitoris that had been kind of reconstructed to become a penis. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I've played with trans men before, and I don't have a problem with a micro dick because I'm not a size queen, and like what he did, he was really good at it. So, but my question is, do I have a right to ask him if he is trans or if he has a micro dick? Because I don't care either way, and so I guess I don't need to know, but I would like to, to meet up with him again. I don't know what the protocol is.
If it doesn't make any difference to you whether this guy is trans or has a micro dick and you want to keep seeing him, why ask? Why bring it up? Just keep seeing him. At some point, if you guys continue to hang out and continue to see each other, you will become more intimate, and you will perhaps have conversations about your histories, about your bodies, about your dicks. And if at that point your new friend, your new fuck buddy, or your new boyfriend wants to open up to you about his dick, he will. And if it's irrelevant to you, whether it's a trans guy or a cis guy with a micro dick, why ask now? And why potentially ruin what could be the beginning of a beautiful relationship by asking now, by putting him on the spot, by making him feel self-conscious? I guarantee you, any guy out there with a micro dick feels self-conscious about it to some extent. Has probably been rejected for that reason on numerous occasions by guys who are cockhounds or size queens or are just cruel. And so he knows that there's something up with his dick, and he probably appreciates that you appreciated his body and his dick as is. And if you continue to appreciate his body and his dick as is, and you're there and you're into him, it'll come out. You will learn in time who he is. You don't have a right to all that information after a hookup, after a one-night stand. So if you want to keep seeing him, keep seeing him. And the info and the intimacy will come in time.
Hi, I'm calling in response to episode 560 with the caller whose friend's girlfriend didn't want him to watch Game of Thrones. I completely agree with you that it's not okay for her to put limits on what he can and cannot watch, but it seems possible to me that this woman may have some firsthand experience with sexual violence. Unfortunately, with the rate of sexual assault in our country, it's not unlikely that she has some experience with it. And it can be really painful in situations like that, to see your loved ones watching sexual violence as entertainment and not seeing it as a big deal. When for you, as someone who has suffered rape or sexual assault, it's a really personal and raw thing. And I mean, like, not to mention the current political climate that is so invalidating of survivors, like that certainly doesn't help that feeling. So I agree with you. That doesn't mean it's okay for her to prohibit him from watching Game of Thrones. As you mentioned, like, restricting another adult's media choices is not a good thing for an adult to do. And like, it's not likely that he's getting his kicks from the rape scenes. But bringing a sense of empathy to that conversation and trying to understand why the show upsets her so much seems like an important thing to do.
Just calling in response to the lady with the partner who has a problem with performing oral sex on her. I'm a gay man, but I work in a very masculine environment with no other gay men. And I don't know any guys who don't think that reciprocating oral sex is mandatory. She's just got to do it. In fact, what we call rimming, my heterosexual friends call booty munching, and they are huge on it. So if she's having a problem with a wonderful guy who won't reciprocate this, there are many, many guys out there who are willing to do significantly more.
Hey, Dan. I'm calling in response to the woman at the very end who had a lying boyfriend. I am just so bewildered by this dude's lies, you just can't go back to this dude. It was a story. Like, it wasn't just like something came up and you're like, you know, did you leave the toilet seat up? No. Oh, no. And it was this one time, like, shit, you know, I fucked up and I don't want to get her mad at me. It was, I'm getting a degree. I work for the government doing top secret work. Also, by the way, let me say, as somebody who holds a top secret clearance, one, you have to tell people that if you're dating them seriously pretty early on. You know why? Because in order to get your clearance, the government has to pry into your life, including your loved ones. So that's just not something you would keep from somebody you were dating for more than a month. And when it comes out to people that I do that, I don't say, I do top secret work for the government. I hold a top secret clearance. Why? Because occasionally there's work that's top secret that I'm involved in. This guy is a total fucking liar. He's going to lie to you about everything. Why do women feel sorry for men like this? Why do they feel guilty and go back to them? I don't understand. Get rid of him. Block him. Block his number. It is going to be nothing but trouble. Good luck, girl.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz. 206-302-2064. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Jon Ronson on Twitter at Jon Ronson. He spells it without an H. It's Jon Ronson. And be sure to listen to his new audio channel program, The Butterfly Effect. Like everything Jon Ronson does, it is fascinating and hilarious. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. And Nancy, I'll be back at you next week for an installment of the Savage Lovecast.